we'll discuss how to access resources and further information. Remember, you are not expected to become an expert in mental health intervention, but we are all the first line of assessment in the school, so we need to be aware of the available resources. In addition, we need to understand our responsibilities for reporting and protecting student privacy. Just because a student needs more intensive supports does not mean that there is still not a good prognosis. Further, it does not diminish our role in supporting his or her mental wellness. Students benefit from our prevention efforts and our positive relationships regardless of whether they are in crisis. We need to be prepared to provide more individualized supports because students will need them at some point. It's also important to remember that students with more intensive needs might not be obvious to us. Also, just because you haven't seen a student with intensive mental health needs does not mean you won't. Remember how common these issues are. Listen to these students describe how they were able to come back from their low point.
I bounced back by looking at the positive side of things, not the negative. I see that, yeah, I may have been to this new low, but I can still take another step forward and not have to worry mostly about the past more than the present and the future. And I don't focus as bad on this negative as I used to, so the positive keeps me going and keeps me motivated and inspired.
So I guess what I did was I kind of tucked my chin, I kind of ran through it, and I know that one day I could possibly be an example for other young people going through the same thing.
A continuum of supports is most easily delivered via a multi-tiered system of support, such as PBIS. At the school-wide level, we need to apply a coat of prevention paint. It's something we do across everyone. Green paint is universal intervention. These include positive relationships, school-wide bully prevention systems, and all of the effective instruction that adults use to teach expectations and behaviors that will provide the most supportive environment for all, including those with mental health challenges. While we know that this green prevention paint will be sufficient for most of our students to maintain mental wellness, there will be some who we will recognize as needing something additional to be successful. They need more attention and support, or a second layer of paint, this time yellow. Yellow paint is a secondary intervention. While we know that the combination of green and yellow paint will be sufficient for the great majority of our students, there will always be a small number with very intensive needs, and they require a coat of red paint, our most intensive supports both inside and outside of the school. Listen to these school-based professionals describe effective intervention from all three paint types.
We decided as a school what it meant to be respectful of one another, and then taught this to all of our students and practiced it in all locations of the school every day. It became the focus of the culture of our school, respecting others.
We found that there were a number of students who, while not horrible failures, struggled with our school-wide expectations. We used our data on referrals to identify them, and we looked at their needs to design some smaller group interventions. For a couple of students, it was as simple as identifying a teacher to touch base with them on a daily basis personally.
There were some students who became obvious. Their behaviors reflected some of the key warning signals for mental illness, and they did not respond to primary or secondary interventions. We used our information on other resources in the community to refer these students for individualized attention. However, we continue to work with these students as a part of our school's commitment to student success.
As a school employee, there are some specific legal requirements that you should be aware of. First, let's talk about your responsibilities with regard to reporting. The law requires reporting when any person knows or has reasonable cause to believe that a child is dependent, neglected, or abused. You don't have to know it for sure. Failure to report is a crime. For reports made in good faith, the person who reported is immune from legal liability. KRS 620.030 states, any person who knows or has reasonable cause to believe that a child is dependent, neglected, or abused shall immediately cause an oral or written report to be made to a local law enforcement agency or the Kentucky State Police, the Cabinet or its designated representative, the Commonwealth's attorney, or the county attorney by telephone or otherwise. The following persons, among others, may be required to submit a more detailed written report: medical professionals, teachers, school personnel, social worker, child caring personnel, mental health professional, police, or any organization or agency for any of the above. KRS 620.0301 also states, any supervisor who receives from an employee a report shall promptly make a report to the proper authorities for investigation. In addition to reporting, there are also some specific legal requirements and responsibilities with regard to privacy. Additional links and resources have been pulled together and can be found on this website. Meet with your group and discuss what you will do this year to affect change in students with or at risk for mental health challenges.